On a sunny afternoon at a beautiful outdoor wedding, one of the bridesmaids meets a handsome bachelor. He was tall, handsome, and apparently the CEO of a local company. And she was slim, beautiful, and a bit of a socialite herself. These two hit it off straight away. Within weeks, they became inseparable. Within 6 months, they moved in together and even adopted a cat named Socks. From the outside, things were looking great. However, on the inside, things weren't always what they seemed. This beautiful woman began to feel unwell often. And as the doctors would confirm later on, she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. So not only was she weighed down by lethargy every day, she started to put on more and more weight. But instead of helping her deal with this disease and just overall being there for her, her man mocked her and pressured her to lose the weight. After all, he didn't want to be seen publicly with a larger woman. In other words, he wanted to preserve his image more than what he wanted to see her healthy and happy. So not only did her health take a major hit, so did her self-esteem. And instead of support, all she got was disapproval, rejection, and humiliation. Eventually, as you can imagine, they broke up and he never contacted her again. Now, some would suggest that it was so unfortunate that she had to contract this disease. However, you can also say that it was a blessing in disguise because it completely revealed this man's character. As they say, I think you dodged a bullet there. And a man's character is exactly what I want to focus on in this video. We're going to discuss the 7 new truths on men that they hide from smart women like yourself. Number 1, a man who is overly concerned about his image will throw you under the bus and abandon you. I don't know about you, but I've had bad experiences with people who are only concerned about their image. A large portion of their energy, their metabolic energy, goes to maintaining this public facade of themselves. And if they ever happen to fall short in any way, you pay the price. You are the one who is blamed. And here's why. Any man who puts his image above his relationships or his sense of connection and loyalty to you was never interested in the relationship in the first place. Not only was he not interested, but he was never actually emotionally invested in you. So it's crucial that you actually figure out whether the guy you're seeing is concerned about his image. I also probably didn't need to tell you that a man who is very, very obsessed with his image is likely highly prone to narcissistic traits and narcissistic tendencies. And I know that some people out there will try to convince you that you can strike a balance between how much you value your image and how much energy you put into maintaining that external facade versus how much you care for and invest in the people in your life. I am not of that belief. In order to truly value your image, you have to sacrifice loyalty to your loved ones, and that includes your romantic partner. Because here's the truth. Your image is just an image. Your image is an idea in your head of what you think you control in other people's minds. Let me say that in a different way. This idea that you can control how you look in other people's minds, whether it be your peer group, your work group, or just random friends, is completely erroneous. It doesn't matter how much you try to control your image. Other people are gonna have their judgments of you. And so the only opinions that truly matter in your life are the opinions of those people who already have your back. The opinions of those people who truly want the best for you. Tell me, can you count on this one hand? Hold your hand up if you want to. Can you count on one hand the number of people who want the best for you in your life? Because I can tell you, the person or the man who wants to perfect his image and wants to use you to perfect his image is not one of those people that you can count on one hand. A man who's invested in his image is the one who will throw you under the bus because the image comes first. Focusing on your image and being loyal to your partner are two very different things. Don't ever expect that you can strike a balance between the two. Now, this doesn't mean that you should have no shame or never care about your appearance. That's not what I'm talking about. Caring about your appearance and having some level of shame helps you not treat others like absolute crap. And it helps you at least have some level of personal hygiene and good presentation out of respect for your fellow man. What I'm talking about is obsession over image. And a lot of men do this. You can tell with those men who insist on dating women who have multiple plastic surgeries. You have to steer away from these kinds of men. They are just not good. They are just bad. Don't even think about it. Truth number 2, there are men who are desperate for admiration from women in general, and there are men who only want their one and only to admire them. Now, this goes back to the whole idea of loyalty. There are men out there who are addicted to making you or other women serve their ego. Now, you can call this seeking narcissistic supply or seeking supply, whatever you want to call it. But if you notice that when you're out with a man, he's always seeking that validation, that attention, and the approval of other women. For example, he always structures conversations in a way that he is seen as the top dog, and he's the one who's in control, and he's the one who's winning all the invisible or physical competitions. That could be a sign that this guy is constantly looking for that dopamine hit from validation and appreciation or attention from any woman. On the flip side of the coin, there are men out there who are only looking for their one and only. And the man who seeks a relationship, emotional connection and emotional attraction in a relationship with one woman, their one and only, that type of man doesn't give a damn about what other women think of him. It doesn't even register. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist because he's loyal, and therefore he's only interested in what the woman he's invested in thinks of him. If his one and only is more image focused than him, this loyal man will still stay true to his values of valuing loyalty over his image and over seeking the approval of others. When a man doesn't seek the approval of others, that's a strong sign that he has actual authentic masculine direction. Because a man needs that to fulfill his masculine mission in life. Truth number 3, a loyal man stays that way. He doesn't change just because a hot woman tries to seduce him. Now, for you ladies out there who may be secretly trying to seduce a married man or a taken man, listen closely. If a man is loyal, he won't take the bait, because loyalty is loyalty. On the other hand, there are men who don't have loyalty in their blood. Seriously, some people just don't have loyalty in their blood, man or woman. Now, obviously, it's your choice whether you want a loyal man or not, but usually in order to have a loyal man, you have to exhibit loyal traits within yourself as well. You can't just demand loyalty and not give it yourself. It doesn't work that way, because usually truly loyal men are also super smart, and they choose loyalty because they're smart, because they understand that the payoff long-term through loyalty is worth more than the so-called payoff in the short term by being disloyal to a bunch of different women. Now, I have to say, over the last 15 years of coaching women, I've heard a lot of women claim that they're loyal, but here's the thing. Loyalty doesn't change just because your man's financial status changed, his social status changed, or his health status changed. Loyalty is playing the long game with someone. Loyalty is investing in yourself when it seems like the cost is not worth it in the short term. And guess what? A lot of men can't do it. A lot of men don't see the sense in loyalty, especially in this day and age where so many women cannot offer loyalty right from the start. But one thing's for sure, loyalty is a character trait. It doesn't go away. Don't expect a disloyal man to change for you. Because yes, loyalty is built into the man. It is within his character. If a man hasn't got it, you cannot force him to have it. Truth number 4, a man who can't think independently can't offer long-term value to you. Thinking independently is in stark contrast to groupthink, or adopting the thoughts and rules of somebody else or some other teaching. A lack of independent thought can come from all kinds of places. But here's why I'm arguing that a man who can't think independently can't offer long-term value to you. First of all, it's because we are living in unprecedented times. And I'm not talking about that thing that happened 5 years ago. I'm talking about the changes that are happening with AI, with the economy, and just with people. We just don't have the peace in society that we had 20 years ago. And with things changing so fast, if a man can't think independently and is instead bogged down by some person's rules from the past, then he can't change with the times. If he can't change with the times, then he can't make the right decisions for you and his family and take you places that you need to go to have a better future. In order to truly provide for a woman and for his family, a man needs to have his own independent thought. He needs to be attuned to the environment around him so that he can make the decisions that are best for him and for you and his family as he goes along. Oh, and by the way, if you are bogged down by a bunch of rules, you probably aren't going to be the perfect partner for a masculine man who can think independently. Truth number 5, youth matters to men, but not in the way that you assume. Now, I know that there are tons of podcasts out there where they talk about how if a woman is below the age of 25 or whatever it is, then she loses her value to men. And the message that those podcasts send can be really disheartening for women, because if we're honest, deep down, this is our biggest fear. We know that our youth is a kind of a value to men. And if you don't know, then that's because it's been drilled out of you. It's been conditioned out of you somehow, either through modern societal messaging or just through someone else who's taught you an opposing message throughout your life. Here's when youth does matter to men. It's when men are looking to build a family and to have children. Youth means ability to have children and the ability to have more children. But for men who have already had children, youth will generally speaking matter less because they've already done that. It doesn't matter if Leo or John over there values 24-year-olds and you're 44. What matters is your ability to trigger emotional attraction in men. Understand that if you focus on the right things, if you focus on building emotional attraction, that you can have the right man fall in love with you and be your forever person. If you want to fast track your ability to build emotional attraction with any man and filter out the low value men in favor of the best of men, then I recommend you take our free high value banter class. The class is run by my husband, David, and it will teach you the skills of leading with playfulness and engaging in high value banter with men so that you can have fun dating and bring out the best in men. Truth number 6, a man's relationship with his own mortality says everything about his character. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong to be fearful of death. I think that in our younger days, everyone has a fear of death. But as you go along in life, as you reach 30, 40, 50, we are all supposed to have faced the idea of our own mortality. Now, a man who balks at his own mortality or is trying desperately to hold on to other people's admiration is a really bad sign. Now, it could be a sign of narcissism, or it could just be a sign of a man who hasn't lived, a man who's made a series of poor choices that have led him down a horrible path in life. And you know what? if you come into contact with a man like that and you become invested in a man like that, nothing good comes out of it. These types of men will just steal away your sanity and your time. So here's an example of what I mean by a man's relationship with his own mortality says everything about his character. My husband keeps this little graph that he has where it's full of boxes, and I think it goes in weeks. I can put it up on the screen. And all these little boxes fill up an entire sheet that is supposed to represent his life in full. So once he gets into his, 70s or 80s or something, all those boxes will be filled out. It's kind of freaky to look at. But the reason why he does it is because it's a reminder to appreciate and be grateful for what he has in his life right now. To be grateful that life could end at any point, and to understand that life is short. You see, a lot of people try and block this out. And what happens then is that you operate on this erroneous idea that what matters is your achievements. And all that matters is that you were some kind of hero or that you achieved some kind of financial goal. But the truth is, no financial goal or no achievement is guaranteed. And a man who has done the work, who has faced his own mortality, will value his family, his blood, his children, and his best friends above everything else. And he knows that that's where the value lies. And because he knows that's where the value lies, he will offer his loyalty. I would argue that any man who has a depth of masculine energy understands that facing death is the biggest challenge in his life. And since the masculine grows through challenge, facing your own mortality is arguably the biggest challenge he could face. So if a man completely avoids that, then how deep is his masculine energy really? Truth number 7, a man who has to employ coping mechanisms will make you feel like you have an inferior catch. So what do I mean by coping mechanisms? I mean men who go to any kind of substance or even pill in order to cope with fear, cope with anxiety, or hide their lack of mental health. All the difficult stuff that he has not processed, that he's been pushing down with the help of substances or pills, is going to come up at some point, and it is not going to be pretty. And what happens when you force yourself to not feel your feelings is that you actually become less productive and less capable in your life. You become less attuned and unable to do the things that are necessary in order to provide or to just look after yourself and the people around you. Now, I'm not trying to make anyone with a mental illness wrong here, because mental illness is real. Depression is real. I am just saying that if a man has depression, he has a mental illness, he has anxious attachment style, he has to work through it. It's impossible to just push depression down. Depression can come from not feeling properly bonded to your caregivers as a baby and toddler. Depression can come from feelings that you had to push down early on in your childhood in a dysfunctional family life. And a lot of the times men don't get the feedback that it's okay to process that, but it has to be done at some point or it'll just catch up with them. And you will be the one who pays the price, not just him. So while you may be tempted to just help this man who's an alcoholic or help this man who's had a really troubled childhood, and I admire that, at some point you're going to look at your man, you're going to compare him to Bonnie over there who has an emotionally healthy guy, and you are going to feel like, my man can't even function on a normal Thursday afternoon at work without taking a pill or drinking some alcohol. And yes, you can argue that women are naturally hypergamous and therefore we're always going to compare our man to other women's men. And I would say to you that there is some surface truth to that. But if you have a man who can't function properly because he hasn't dealt with his stuff, that is going to hit so much harder and give you such a great cost in the long term in your life that it's not going to be anything like a simple comparison like Bonnie's husband is a CEO and yours is a panel beater. It's going to be like a deep regret that you chose the wrong man, a deep regret that you as an empath or you as someone who cared so much, you wanted to see him do well, you wanted to help him get over his stuff, and he isn't putting in the work himself. You'll feel that regret on another level. And I don't want that feeling for you. I don't want you to look back on the 10 or 20 years you've spent with this man and go, this regret is too much. Okay, I hope these 7 new truths on men have helped you in some way. If you did enjoy this video, consider watching this one, and I'll see you in my next one.